Hi there, it's Llarold. Now that the first week of the pre-patch has gone by, I think this is a great opportunity to take a look at how each of the tanks are doing in raids and in Mythic Plus. In general, I think that all of the tanks, even Druid and Paladin, are stronger now than they were during Shadowlands. Losing tier set bonuses hurt some of the tanks more than others, and by that I mostly just mean monks. It hurt monks' ability to self-heal and deal with sustained spell damage pretty badly. I came up with my thoughts on the tanks through a combination of testing and playing them myself, of course, but also by looking through Warcraft logs reports from the last week and Raider.io's rankings for post-Season 4. Every tank has something positive going on for them. There's a lot of new stuff to experiment with and learn about, and that probably is the biggest negative I have to say about any of the tanks. There's just a lot to learn. I don't see that as a downside personally, but being uncomfortable on a class that you used to know really well can be tough for a lot of people, and I'm sympathetic to that. Well, anyways, let's just go class by class. Blood DKs were very unhappy about losing their tier set bonuses, maybe the most unhappy in the run-up to the patch, but now that the dust has settled, they're still doing very well. Blood DK is the only tank who has seen a major shift in their Covenant choice, with DKs in both Mythic Plus and Raids now defaulting to Night Fae as their preferred Covenant. If you need Abomination Limb for a fight such as Anduin, you can just get it as a talent now. DK is still doing amazingly well. It's the most popular tank in the game. It's the most popular tank in the absolute highest end of Mythic Plus. It has some new competition up there, but it's still the favorite tank in all forms of in-game content. Demon Hunter is doing really well now. They are one of the two new tanks that are getting a lot of play in higher end Mythic Plus. DH has really good single target damage now and very good sustained defenses. These were the two big weaknesses that the class had throughout Shadowlands and really through most of the history of the class, and they're just gone. Zero downside, all upside. They still have great AoE damage and defensive cooldowns, of course, but now they have offensive cooldowns galore. They have more mobility, more damage, more healing, everything you could want in a tank. They're the total package. Druids are doing ridiculous amounts of damage right now. It's crazy how much damage Druid does. Genuinely insane. Is it being propped up by Shadowlands legendaries and Covenant powers and soulbinds? Of course. This won't hold true into Dragonflight, but I think the best course of action here is just to enjoy it while it lasts. The class is more fun now than it was in Shadowlands, thanks to the addition of the new cluster of Moonfire talents, which give you a massive boost of damage and a lot of self-healing. Again, doing this much damage is just fun. Monks are now by far the most complicated tank. This is a pretty big reversal from them having been one of the simplest tanks in their whole history of existing since Mists of Pandaria. I have been playing Windwalker some more lately, and it is easier now than it was in Shadowlands, which I'm pretty sure makes Brewmaster Monk the most complicated spec in the entire game. It lost a lot of sustained self-healing and bonus health by losing the tier set bonus. That hasn't been a problem in raids at all, but in Mythic Plus it is a loss, and Brewmasters at the highest level of play have seen a drop in popularity. Not a huge one, but a little bit of one. Brewmasters have a lot more damage now. They have 6 different offensive cooldowns. They have a 50% more single target damage. They have more defensive cooldowns, and they're still very good, but they are complicated. Technically, it's not that hard to play Brewmaster Monk. You just have a ton of keybinds. Here's the secret of Monk. I'll boil it all down to a single sentence guide. Use your skills on cooldown. That is a lot easier said than done considering the amount of keybinds you have to use, and obviously you shouldn't just be hitting your defensive cooldowns on cooldown. Those you will want to manage a bit more skillfully to control the amount of damage you're taking, but if you can use all of your offensive abilities effectively, like all 12 to 15 of them, you'll do pretty well. Paladin was, along with Druid, one of the two classes I was expecting to come out of this week saying, oh, it's not that great, they're not doing so hot, but that hasn't been the case at all. Being able to go Venthyr and still take Divine Toll is pretty amazing. Having both Covenant abilities makes Paladin capable of doing enormous burst damage and really good sustained AoE damage. Pallies have seen a reduction in their holy power generation, but this isn't a problem at all in Shadowlands. You still have so much more than you could possibly need to maintain 100% Shield of the Righteous uptime. Self-healing has increased, damage reduction tools are stronger, defensive cooldowns are way better, and it's still a pretty good tank. The biggest weakness Paladin has now is that it's no longer the overwhelming #1 damage dealing tank like it was for most of Shadowlands. That has been lost to Druids for the rest of the pre-patch, and even outside of Shadowlands, Paladins are probably going to be more of a middle of the pack tank in terms of damage output. This is fine, it's other tanks' time to shine. Pally's burst damage is still good, it's just not insane, broken, overpowered. Protection Warrior is a tank on the rise. It is the other one of the tanks that is now being used in high-level Mythic Plus alongside Demon Hunters, and it is insanely tanky. I tanked Mythic to Nathrius and a bunch of other bosses as well on my Warrior this past week, and it just takes no damage compared to the other tanks. Shield block uptime is at an all-time high, the amount of damage you block with your shield is at an all-time high, tankiness in general is at an all-time high. It's very strong, and unlike most of the other tanks, it didn't really get more complicated with the pre-patch. It got stronger, a lot stronger, but it's still really very easy to play. It's forgiving, it's fun now, and if you play a super aggressive playstyle and talent setup, you can do a lot more damage while still being pretty tanky. You won't be competing with Druids, no one is, or maybe even matching up to Demon Hunters can be kind of a challenge, but it's just so beefy that there's nothing bad I can say about Warriors. They're awesome now. I love it. Now let me go over my biggest winners and losers of the pre-patch. Demon Hunters are the biggest winner. They got way tankier, they gained a humongous damage increase, which they really needed. They somehow managed to gain more mobility. It's genuinely a perfect tank. It's not the tankiest tank in the game, that is Warrior, but if you want a tank that can do absolutely everything and won't be difficult to play, Demon Hunter is it. I've been trying to think of a loser and I can't. I was gonna say it's Monk because it's so much more complicated, but there's no way that you can look at Monk doing 50% more damage now than it did a week ago and say that, oh yeah, that's actually bad. No, it isn't. That would be dumb. The same thing goes for Bear Druids. The tank that's doing the most damage in the game, literally more than twice as much in AoE as the second place, that's not bad. Instead, I'm gonna say it's me. I lose. I came into 10.0 thinking Bear Druid was gonna suck, and I was wrong. The tank balance was really good for a while in Shadowlands. There was a point during Season 2 when I kept hearing players say, this is the best that tanks have ever been balanced. And, I mean, I mostly agreed. I think that applies to right now even more. I think this is one of the best moments in tank balance Blizzard has ever achieved, and it's not just a matter of tuning. This is the best Blizzard has ever done in terms of balancing complexity out across tanks. You have a really offensive complex tank in Monk, you have a very defensive simple tank in Warrior. You have a complex defensive tank in DK, you have a simple offensive tank in Druid. You have a couple of moderate complexity tanks in DH and Paladin, with Demon Hunter being the more offensively oriented of the two. Every tank has something about its design that sets it apart from the others. There really is something for everyone. Things are great now, and they're only going to get better as we head into Dragonflight, level to 70, unlock more talents, and get even stronger. Alright, that's it. Like and subscribe, and thanks for watching. Bye.